with Daredevil having to face off with the 7 deadly sins of the Marvel Comics universe. One of his closest allies, Ben Urich, has suddenly taken this dramatic turn against the devil of Hell's Kitchen. But the real question, is he actually possessed by one of the 7 deadly sins? And if so, which one? What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're gonna be talking about Daredevil #3, written by Saladin Ahmed, with art by Aaron Kuder, and color by Jesus Abertov. So in the previous video for Daredevil #2, one of the things I saw in the comments a lot, there were some people who believed that there might be an instance here where maybe Ben Urich isn't exactly directly responsible for what is going on with Matt Murdock's situation as of late, and this new social media account called Reveal All Devils targeting his church, St. Nicholas's. And we learn in this issue that's not the case. Ben Urich is not being framed at all. As a matter of fact, he is very much in on the whole thing. And the truth of the matter here is, it's safe to say he is very possessed. We know that it's one of the 7 deadly sins, and I saw a lot of people come up with their own theories as to who the sin could be. I saw some other people who really do think that it is pride, and I actually don't think it's pride. There are some other people who seem to believe that it could technically be gluttony, and I could make a case for gluttony, maybe possibly. In my previous video, I said that I believe this is very likely greed, and technically speaking, I'm very inclined to stick with that one, though I did also say I would be more willing to also lean into the idea of it being envy, and I could now make a little bit more of a case for that just based on the fact that when we see Ben Urich in this issue and he's talking to the character of Robbie Robertson, who, for those who are unfamiliar, that is a character who has been a long time fixture at the Daily Bugle over on the Spider-Man side of things, and right now Robbie Robertson works for Ben Urich because Ben Urich owns the Daily Bugle. But there's a point here where we recognize that Ben is seemingly jealous of all the attention that the Reveal All Devils social media account has been getting. Now, granted, we know that this social media account is tied directly to him, that it is, in fact, him. However, but I guess because of the nature of the inflammatory stuff that social media account puts out there, he can't directly do it exactly with the Daily Bugle, but he wants to use that social media account in order to fuel stories that are being put out at the Bugle. So one could make the case that maybe he's envious of the fact that, yes, this social media account that he has over here that is, making all these waves, he can't capitalize on the money that it's making over on the Daily Bugle side of things because he's getting opposition from within to not run those sensationalist stories, especially stories that aren't rooted in any actual truth, which is something that's very surprising to Robbie Robertson because of the fact that Ben Urich has long been a proponent of the truth. That is his whole thing. He wants the truth out there. He wants people to know what is really happening. It's the whole reason that he's been helping the X-Men as of late in their recent debacle with Orcus and the Hellfire Gala. We just saw recently in the pages of Uncanny Avengers and even Jerry Duggan's X-Men series, prior to this, where he was trying to help get the word out to humanity that the mutants aren't bad people and why they are who they are and what they're dealing with, and trying to get people to understand that, mutants aren't the enemy and that Orcus is the real villain here. And that's just recent stuff. If you go back to like Daredevil Born Again and even some of the earliest iterations of Ben Urich over in the Daredevil side of things, like even before that story arc, Ben was always a guy who believed the truth will always win out and that lies should always be squashed. Now that I've said all that, I want to get back to my greed theory because, once again, this is about money. He wants the Bugle to take off. He wants the Bugle to make all the money, to get all the sensationalism, to get all the clicks. Now, if you look at it that way, you could also make a case for gluttony, but the reason he wants those clicks is for the money. There's something he says very specifically I think is very telling. He says that what's going on is, I'm tired of watching us get scooped, Robbie. I'm tired of us nitpickers ending up with crumbs after other outlets writing a story for all the clicks they can. And he also brings up the idea that he doesn't want to let the Bugle get passed by due to outdated standards. Once again, I've seen a lot more evidence that can really point him in the direction of envy. And I think that's why I'm more willing to lean towards Ben Urich's sin that is possessing him being either greed or gluttony. It actually just makes that much more sense now when you think about it. Because right now, all he cares about is the clout, and not only that, the money that comes along with that clout. Another thing we can't ignore here is that with Daredevil recognizing that the streets are getting a little bit hot right now with gang warfare, in light of the fact that if you are over on the Spider-Man side of things, there is a whole story arc on the horizon, I believe. By the time this video comes out, will either have just started or is about to start. That's called Gang War. It's going to be this whole big to-do where all the criminals of the Marvel Comics universe, at least on the Spider-Man side of things, and I would even say like just the street level criminals, characters like Hammerhead, Tombstone, and White Rabbit, so on and so forth. There's supposed to be this huge big gang war going on, this whole big to-do, and right now we see that one of the gangs that's going to be involved in that war just so happens to be led by one of Daredevil's greatest enemies, and that is the character Bullseye. Now, the last time we saw Bullseye was during the Chip Zdarsky run, but it seems like whatever is going on now, he is back out in the wild, and Daredevil now has to face off with his old nemesis, who just so happens to likely be taking part in this whole gang war. What's even more scary about this is that Bullseye very likely knows that there's something going on right now with, you know, Matt Murdock and Daredevil, whereas most characters don't really right now because of the nature of how Daredevil, you know, died off and then was resurrected. There are people who remember him, but during the Charles Soule run, where Matt Murdock's identity had been restored by the Purple Children and just everything else is going on, no one really should know that Matt Murdock is Daredevil except for the people who he let know that he was Daredevil after the fact. Characters like Detective North, as well as Foggy Nelson, Elektra, so on and so forth. But yeah, the fact that some of the people who are working for Bullseye right now are the same police officers who tried to question him at St. Nicholas's while he was just Father Matt, it does lead to a lot of questions. But anyway, that's everything I want to talk about with Daredevil number 3. If you want to see more awesome videos like this one, as well as more of my coverage on Daredevil and other comics by Marvel and DC, make sure you click that subscribe button and tap that notification bell. That way you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, let me know what you thought about Daredevil number 3. Keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.